Hello everyone, this is Beware the Q. Today's video is going to be a rundown of what I feel are the best and worst species from the speculative biology series The Future is Wild from 2002. So I got finished watching the series yesterday. When I made the previous video, Cosmic Safari vs. The Future is Wild, I'd only seen the first 7 or so episodes of The Future is Wild, so I managed to finish watching it yesterday, so now I've seen every species there, and this is my list of what I feel are the best and the worst. I tried initially to do my 5 favourite and my 5 least favourite, but I could only find 4 that I didn't particularly like. So this is actually a list of, it's got the 6 best in my opinion, and the 4 worst, also in my opinion. Now, for starters, we'll start with the best, and then we'll leave the worst for last. So, number 1 on my list, not in any particular order, but this is just a list of 10. We'll start with the first one. These are mostly going to appear in chronological order of when they appeared in the series, because I watched it. Obviously, I watched it in order each episode, and I just made a note of the ones that I liked as and when they appeared. So, first of all, is the Swampus. So we'll start with the best. The first one is the Swampus. That's a land-living octopus species, which is, they've come onto land because at this point in the future, I think it's 100 million years. I could be wrong. I think it's 100 million years in the future. All the fish have disappeared from the oceans, and so the octopus had to make its way onto land if it was going to find a food source. It was a lot of cephalopods managed to do this. You have, among others, this one isn't on the list, the Squibben, but that's a squid that has moved into the forests and is able to live in the trees. It swings from branch to branch like gibbons, hence the name Squibbens. But that's not on the list, but it's just as an example of another cephalopod which has emerged onto dry land and now lives there rather than living in the oceans. So the Swampus, that's a good one because octopus, octopi, as they say, is the correct term, I believe, can already go onto dry land. You often see, I don't know if you've seen videos of an octopus when it's on land, it kind of rolls around, it rolls forward, usually when it's making its way back to the water. They're able to navigate dry land, they don't just flop around like a fish would if you put it onto land. They're able to navigate and move around on dry land, which is cool. So it's not too much of a stretch to imagine an octopus, over the ensuing millions and millions of years, being able to crawl onto dry land. And as the years pass and their evolution continues, they're able to stay on dry land for longer and longer and longer. Until it gets to the point where 200 million years or so in the future, or is it 100 million years by this point? I think, or maybe it's 50 million years. I've forgotten what it is chronologically, but it could be that after that amount of time, they are able to spend a good bit of time. They are able to just live on land permanently. It's not too far outside the realms of possibility, in my opinion. So that's one that's on my list of best species. Number 2 is the mega squid, and that's in a similar vein, but it's descended from squids. They've also emerged onto dry land and live there permanently. And the mega squid is one that I think, if I remember correctly, it weighs about 8 tons. It's massive. It's like a massive elephantine squid, mega squid. You see it in the series. It's making its way through the forests, and it's like knocking trees out of its way because it's so big. It's this big lumbering thing, and that's really cool. Again, something that I could see happening. And who doesn't want to see a giant squid knocking trees over and stuff? I just thought it was really cool. Number 3 on the list of best is the snow stalker. This one's a bit different. It's descended from the wolverine, and it now lives in the snowy tundra. Its fur has turned white, to make it an effective predator in a snowy region, a very cold Arctic type region, like the polar bear. They're also a successful predator that lives in that type of environment. And it's developed the saber-toothed teeth as well. Again, there's precedent for that. Saber-toothed cats from the past. It could happen. Number 4 on the list is the Cryptiles. Now, Cryptiles are quite cool. They live in what was once the Mediterranean Sea, but is by this point in time around either 50 million years or 100 million years in the future. It now lives, it's now a desert. The Mediterranean Sea has turned into a desert. And you've got these Cryptiles, I've got a picture here that you can see it. It's got these frills around its head that come out of its neck, and it runs on 2 legs, like those, what are those lizards called that run along the surface of water? I can't remember what they're called, but, it runs in the same way as what they do. And using its frills, it's got like a sticky netting around them. It catches flies in that netting, its frill. And as it's running along, it just, uses its tongue to get hold of flies that have been ensnared in its frill. Again, yes, that's something that could happen evolutionarily, if that's a word. It seems like something that could come about. Number 5 on the list of best is the Shapath. Now that's a really cool name, shark and psychopath put together. Shapath. These are really cool. And I noticed an interesting parallel, actually, with the Shapath and the pair-hunting sharks from Cosmic Safari, in that the creators of both series have envisioned sharks working cooperatively to hunt. In Cosmic Safari, there were pair-hunting sharks. They hunted in pairs. And the Shapath is a type of shark that, they hunt in groups. And they have these, like a bioluminescence that runs up and down their bodies. They use that to communicate with each other while in the process of hunting. It's interesting that both, like I said, both the creators of both series have envisioned sharks in the future working together to hunt, which is quite a stark contrast to the way sharks are now, because as far as I know, most shark species are pretty solitary. You do see, I don't know if you've seen in nature documentaries, you'll see footage of hammerhead sharks. They're in massive groups, but they're not working together. That's the thing. They kind of congregate in the same area, I guess, for feeding and obviously for mating. But they don't, when they're just going about their day-to-day lives, they don't work together. They don't cooperate. As far as I know, there are no sharks that do that. There might be some, I don't know. If there are, feel free to leave a comment telling me about them, because I would be very interested in learning about a modern shark that works with its peers to hunt. I mean, is there anything scarier than that, sharks working together? Number 6 on the list is something called the silver swimmer. These are really cool because, like I said at the beginning when I was talking about the swampus, fish have disappeared from the oceans. And so, with no fish being in the water, the octopus had to go onto dry land to look for food. However, where the fish have disappeared, obviously something had to fill the niche that was previously occupied by fish. And that's where the silver swimmer comes in. The silver swimmer is actually the descendant of crustaceans like crabs and lobsters, crayfish, things like that. And they have developed into a sort of, I'll put the picture up here. It still looks very crustacean, but it moves around. It navigates the water, the sea, in a very mobile way, just like a fish does. And the fish they've not all gone extinct either. I mean, this is another species that isn't on the list, but, oh no, it is on the list actually. I beg your pardon. I'll talk about it later actually. So that's the first 6 on the list of 10. These are the 6 that I think are the best. Now we're going to go through what I think are the 4 worst species. Now, when I say worst, I don't mean like, oh, they're the worst, I hate them or anything like that. Really, it's just I don't find them plausible. They don't seem like either they don't seem like something that would come about, or in the case of one of them, I just found it a bit boring, to be honest. Not to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's just... anyway, we'll come to that in a second. I'll explain further. So, on this list of worst, the first one is the desert hopper. I'll put a picture here so you can see it. Basically, the desert hopper is descended from snails. However, it lives in the desert. It hops around on its foot. And I actually learned from a comment on my last video. I can't remember the commenter's name, but I do apologise. But the commenter told me that on a modern day snail, its tail, I thought it was called a tail, is actually called its foot. So okay, yeah. So a modern snail has a foot. That's what it's called, its tail. And this desert hopper has evolved to actually hop around on its foot, and it hops around in the desert. Now, I mean, it's a cool creature. I don't hate any of these species or anything. I'm not that, they're fictional species. I'm not going to get that passionately rageful about it or anything, but I just don't find that plausible. I don't find a snail, even in the future, surviving in the desert. It just seems too out there, in my opinion. I suppose stranger things have happened in real life, but this one just seems too far-fetched, in my opinion. I cannot imagine a snail, because as far as I know, snails have been basically how they are now throughout, ever since, the snail came into being, however long ago. So I just don't see it developing the ability to hop around on one foot. It just seems a bit crazy to me. The next on the list of the ones that I don't like very much is the babukari. Now, it's not that I don't like it or anything, but you've probably heard me use the phrase boring monkeys before when I've been talking about... When I was talking about Man After Man, when I did the Man After Man review, a couple of months back, or however long it was, I just find, simians, apes, things like that in Spec Evo to be a little bit boring, because you can be, your imagination is the limit, and obviously looking at a species' history and its the trajectory that it's going on, you can make predictions on what its future is going to be, and you get some real crazy stuff in speculative evolution or speculative biology. The babukari is just a run-of-the-mill baboon-type creature. It's just not my cup of tea, So that's why I put that on the worst list. Not because it's, it probably is the most plausible, to be honest. Saying all that, it's going to remain, the apes and monkeys and things like that, like things like baboons, are probably going to remain fairly close to what they are now in the upcoming millions and millions of years. So the babukari is probably the most realistic of this of the entire series, to be honest. But I just find them a bit uninteresting, so that's why it's taken its place on the list of worst. The next on the list of worst is the Flish. It's a fish that has evolved to fly around like a bird. Flish, obviously, being a what's the word when you put two words together? I can't remember, but yeah, flying fish, Flish. I find that a little bit too far-fetched as well. I mean, we do have flying fish nowadays, but they don't actually fly. They just sort of jump out of the water, they flap their fins, and they land back in the water again pretty soon. I don't know how plausible a fish actually being able to fly around like a bird really is, because you've got fish as they are now, and then you've got Flish in the future. But what about the in between? Yeah, you've got the flying fish, but how do they? I mean, I just I can't imagine. I can't imagine what it would be like in the on their path from modern fish to being Flish. I guess they just jump out of the water and they're able to remain airborne for a little bit longer each time. But how you would go from that to being able to actually fly? Then again, things like bats and birds, they lived on the ground, so they say, many, many millions of years ago, and they developed the power of flight. So, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a distinct possibility that fish could fly like birds in the future. But my initial feeling upon seeing it was, nah, I don't think so. But I'm no scientist, I'm no biologist, I'm merely a speculative biology fan. I'm just Joe Blow with a YouTube channel, so what do I know? Anyway, last on the list is the Spitfire Bird. The Spitfire Bird, it's kind of like the bombardier beetle, if you know about the bombardier beetle. It can fire jets of this burning liquid at its prey or to fend off predators, things like that. The Spitfire Bird is a bird that also has that ability, and it fires out the top of its beak. It's got a chamber, and when it opens up, it spits like an acidic burning liquid. And I mean, there aren't any birds these days that can do anything like that. All birds are essentially the same for the most part. You do have some exceptions, like the kiwi bird, for example, is flightless, and so are emus, ostriches, things like that. But the physiology is more or less the same. They've got most of them have the same things in common. They have feathers, they have a beak. The way the feet work and everything. I think the ability for a bird to fire acid out of its beak, it just seems too out there, based on what birds really are. What birds actually are, I should say. I have trouble. I have trouble buying that one, if I'm perfectly honest. But, like I said before, leave comments below with your thoughts, because it could be that I'm missing things that other people are going to catch, or it could be that there is something like that out there that I'm just not aware of. I mean, I don't know every single animal on the planet. But if there's anything that has any bird, I should say, that has a similar kind of ability to that, I'd like to know about it. So, that's the list. And, that's... so, let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your favourite species? What are your least favourite? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? Let me know. Anyway, I want to thank you for putting up with the unscripted nature of all my recent videos. I've said before that I'm doing these kinds of videos because I'm so kind of pushed for time at the moment. I've moved into a new house. I'm doing DIY stuff. We're having to buy furniture for the place. We're going about picking stuff up all the time. It's crazy, all the stuff that we're having to do at the moment. I just don't have time to sit down and write videos. It's a real shame. But I do enjoy this this format of video. I'm quite happy to just sit and ramble for ages. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but some people do like the podcast format, which is just unscripted and saying whatever I think, stream of consciousness type thing. A lot of people don't like it, which is fair enough. If you'd rather have scripted videos, I do plan to get back to scripted videos eventually. I've got a few in the works, actually. I plan to do explained videos again, species profiles. Probably not individual ones, because unless it's all tomorrows, then they don't seem to perform very well. Like my Man After Man species profiles videos I did a little while back. They don't get that many views. However, a longer video seems to get good views. So I think when I do species profiles of things like the species from The Future is Wild, or After Man, or Expedition by Wayne Barlow, it's just going to be all in one thing. So there's those to look forward to as well. I've been in my new house we've been in the new house for 3 months now, and it's getting to the point where most urgent things are basically done. So I'll be able to get back. I'll start to have time, and I'll be able to get back to writing scripted videos, the edited stuff. That is coming probably in the new year. Not before Christmas, it'll be after Christmas. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you for your patience with putting up with these kinds of videos. It won't be forever, but I may still do one every so often when I do get back to the scripted. It is nice to just, ramble and blather on for ages. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, share the video, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you're feeling generous, then you can head over to my Patreon and become a patron. I'll put a link in the description for that. And also you can become a member here on YouTube. Some people prefer that. I've got more members than I have patrons at the moment, and it is cheaper to become a member as well. So if you'd rather do that, that's totally fine. Every little helps. Every penny. It's all very much appreciated. I want to say a thank you to all my current patrons and members. You can see them here on the screen. Big thank you to all you guys. This has been Beware the Q, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.